Welcome to the wonderful streets of Sao Paulo, Brazil for round 6 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. So far this season we've crossed from 5 different races across 4 different countries: Mexico, Diriyah, Hyderabad, Cape Town as well. Now we're in Sao Paulo before a month off and a double header in Berlin, Germany. Then Monaco in May, Jakarta double in June along with Portland, before July sees the double in Rome and London round out the season across 2023 for the 9th season of the Formula E World Championship. In terms of how the driver standings look, Pascal Wehrlein leads that on 80 points to Jake Dennis on 62, Jean-Eric Verne is on 50, Antonio Felix da Costa, winning last time out, is on 46, he's 3 clear of Nick Cassidy. Buemi, Rast, Bird, Hughes and de Grassi round out the top 10 point scorers. 80 points for Wehrlein, 18 points for de Grassi, a big lunge in the title. On the second page, it's the same points for Andre Lotterer. Mitch Evans on 14, Van Dorn and Nato 11, Sete Cameron 10, Ticktum on 9, Roland 8. Then it's 7 points for Fenestraz and 3 for Mortara. We look down then on the wonderful Sao Paulo street circuit. Used to be used, of course, for IndyCar, now modified to Formula E. And in the Teams Championship, Taco Porsche leads on 126 points. Envision Racing of 84, clear of Andretti, way clear of McLaren, Penske, Jaguar, Mahindra, Neo and Nissan, and Maserati on 3 points. At Cooper, still no points on the board. And hello everybody and welcome to qualifying for the 2023 Sao Paulo E-Prix. We are moments away from getting the action underway here as well. A lot of tenseness here as we're just looking at a nasty bump on the Sao Paulo track actually in the middle half of the circuit as well. But I think they've repaved something. There was a bump in going into what we saw yesterday, and then today in free practice 2 we saw a few drivers hitting the bumps. I think they all look okay. Let's just take a quick look then at what the running order is for this session. As you can see, coming forward with it as well as a lot of anticipation and a lot of I want to say action, but it is more of a nervousness coming in, I think, to this session, because nobody truly knows exactly what's going to happen with it being yet another different street circuit. So we've got Wehrlein, Verne, Cassidy, Rast, Hughes, Lotterer, Van Dorn, Sete Camera, Roland, Mortara and Muller, the drivers in this Group A session. Coming up shortly. We've opened up TweetDeck alongside as well on the live action, so we'll be able to see and keep up to date with everything. Hello to Omi as well, who's in the chat, as you can hear very loudly. We're getting ready to kick off. Ready for the action then here from Sao Paulo. Here it comes, Q1. It's the first part of qualifying for the Formula E round 6 of the season here, the Julius Baer Sao Paulo E-Prix, as we've already said. Wehrlein, Verne, Cassidy, Rast, Hughes, Lotterer, Van Dorn, Sete Camera, Roland, Mortara and Muller, the cars that will be heading out in this session. I'm Joshua Birch, and alongside me in the commentary box will be Jack Nichols from the World Feed, as well as Nelson Piquet Jr. and Oliver Askew as well. As I'm just trying to get this chair out of the way actually, so I can stand up a bit more easier in the comms box, because it's chairs galore at the moment as the field comes through. Group A is go then, and we're underway. Let's see who has the action. Beautiful circuit here in Sao Paulo. By the way, the practice highlights have just been uploaded to YouTube if everybody wants to go and watch those as well after this session. They've been uploaded. Sorry it wasn't out before, but MotoGP is being a bit of a pain with the scheduling today. But this is our beginning hours of continuous coverage. We'll be here for qualifying for Formula E Then we'll go over at 2:45 for coverage of MotoGP and the sprint race. And then we're back here as well at 4:45 for coverage of the race itself. That's all GMT as they continue to go forward out on the circuit. Cars now circulating and getting into the swing of things, and finally all looking a little bit more relaxed as well. We've seen in the 2 practice sessions so far, everyone taking it easy. Now they can start to push. They have, as I've said before, 350 kilos of power to use in this qualifying round, and they've all gone out together, all 11 cars, so it is going to be a little bit like Lavin Junction out there. But let's go over then and have a listen to our commentators. Karun Chandok's there. Hello, Karun.
Brake disc as such. So much of the braking happens with the motors recovering the energy. So getting the software right will be critical. I don't think they've quite got that spot on yet on the René Rast McLaren.
No, a little bit of a lock-up for him coming into turn 3. So this session is 12 minutes long. You have to do a lap in the first 6 minutes and a lap in the second 6 minutes. Really interesting to see what tyre strategy is here as well. This is the run down towards the first corner. Really long straight, probably the highest speed we've ever seen in Formula E. But tyre-wise, it's not that, even though the track temperature is pretty high, it's not a tough track on the tyre in the way that Cape Town was, because it's all kind of slow speed corners.
Yeah, you've got, as you say, slow speed corners like we're looking at here, turns 4, 5 and 6. And you've actually got long straights for the tyres to cool down. So, as you said, even though it's a sweltering hot day outside, you can see the heat haze as we look down this Starfinis straight, sorry, or the back straight here. You can see the heat haze coming through. But actually, it's those long corners that we used to have at Cape Town a few weeks ago. That's what puts the energy and the heat in the tyres. But here, Jack, the tricky thing is you've got traction zone, where they're trying to put down a lot of power through the rear axle. And that in particular is where the rear tyres start to overheat. So I won't be surprised to see people pitting to put cool tyres on sort of halfway through the session.
So Nick Cassidy across the line, a 1:13.4.
So there we go, the time's starting to come on. Rowland across the line, he's second, 2/10 down on the overall time. Verline does a 1:13.280. With Cassidy and Rowland completing that running order. A lot of action then being spent in this session with the warm-up laps. Remember, you must have at least 1 lap time on your board before the start. Let's hear from Verline.
Most other cars look like they're doing alpha prep.
Verline being told cars doing alpha prep as we ride on board with Andre Lotterer into the last corner now. Booted hard. And Lotterer should be at least inside the top 4 with this early time. Second fastest on a 1:13.382. So Verline has a 1/10 of a second to the rest of the field at the moment as we wait for the audio to come back from the side of the track. Here we go. Onboards don't have audios, unfortunately. Hughes into turn 1, heavy on the brakes as he continues to slide around with the rears as well. And that cost him a couple of 1/10 of a second, actually, as the pictures break up from the helicam. Down the long back straight then as well, out of turn 3, down towards the 4 and 5 chicane area. It's a right, left, right complex as they swing back around. The helicopter making me a bit sick there. Mortara goes 5th, and Verne to the top. 1:13.157 then in the opening times of this session. Hughes is first sector, looking quick. Van Dorn goes P2. 48 thousandths down on Verne's overall time. Rast 4th. Verline 3rd. Muller goes 9th. Mortara drops down into 10th position as a result of this. And Hughes flying the neon McLaren around into the last corner then at turn number 11. Across the control line, and Hughes goes 6th on a quicker time as well. Now this is Mortara, and we've got a yellow flag at turn 6. So who's down there? Well, actually, looking at it, it's the 3 of Sergio Sette Camera. Now he's stopped on the track, double yellow now, and we go green again. But we have got Sergio Sette Camera stopped on the track Are we going to get to see that on the TV pictures with the yellows keep coming out? He's still there. He's still stuck according to the driver tracker down turn 6. And there's the yellow again now, double out. But yeah, there we go. Now it's confirmed. Sergio Sette Camera stopped the track. They'll have to red flag. They'll definitely have to red flag this, and they have red flagged it. So Sergio Sette Camera has come to a stop on the track at the exit of turn 4, 5, 6 chicane area, and it has brought out a red flag to stop qualifying number 1. And that's not what we wanted, because now it's going to take longer and longer to do these things. Let's hear from Sette.
I still have them plus minus and then power cycle, yeah?
So that's
Jack?
Sette Camera.
That's the Formula E version of Alt Control Delete.
Yeah, exactly. So is he just slowing down, or does he clip something? Oh, he has a big lock-up, goes straight on over the chicane. Okay, so he's had an electrical issue there, hasn't he? He's had a technological problem. This is on board with him. Listen to this, coming towards the chicane.
Yeah, it's going to cut out. Massive brake failure coming into the chicane. Couldn't even get the car
On the
stopped.
brakes, but the car's just not slowing down.
Wow. And then, yeah, he had to red flag it.
Yeah, it's some sort of
Oh, he's got it
electronic
going.
glitch, I think,
He's got
with
it
the braking
going.
system. It's good to see him back up and running. Hopefully, if he could just crawl back to the pits, and then that might give the team a chance to have another.
But can he now do a lap time
plug
if he
their
causes
magic
a red
laptops in
flag?
and get it all sorted out. So, but as you said, Jack, actually, it's not really a problem for everyone else.
I'm sorry. Yep, red flag.
So just Sette
I
Camera.
went down immediately.
He's apologising.
Okay, he's apologising for something. Didn't really look like it was his fault, to be honest with you. But a lovely guy, Sergio Sette Camera, really cool guy. He actually has started a sort of charity foundation thing that aims to get young
Yeah, he's
people
been really good with it.
into motorsport, young Brazilians into sort of motorsport engineering, and not necessarily driving, but the sort of whole background of motorsport, which is a really, really cool thing that Sette Camera has set up. He's making his way back to the pit lane, so hopefully the lights will go.
Intentional teams.
Here we go.
Intentional teams from race control. Just as a heads up, we'll give you guys a 1-minute warning to queue in the pit lane, as been specified in the driver briefing notes.
So there'll be a minute for the drivers
So
to line
1 minute
up in the
warning from Scott
garage.
Elkins in the middle there. Because this is a very rare, it's the first time in Formula E history that the cars can queue up in the pit lane on the way out. Normally you have to wait in the garage until the light goes green, and that's when we see everyone burst out of the garage. But because the pit lane here is opposite each other, that was obviously deemed to be not a great plan. So for the first time you can queue up in the pit lane, which is
That's a good idea.
it's not that
sensible
exciting.
idea.
It excited me.
Did it?
Yeah, it did.
Really?
But that's the kind of thing that does excite
You
me.
need to get out now.
I am aware of this. There's Stoffel Van Dorn, second quickest at the moment. Lotterer down in 6th.
Yeah, this is a good chance for them all to put on their other set of tyres, isn't it? You know, it means mechanics can work under slightly less pressure because there's no time limitation there. I mean,
Vertline radio.
Only concern, Pascal, is that your tyre temps are going to be too high for the last push when the track evolutions its best.
So that's them discussing their run plan, basically.
it's discussing, I think, when to leave the pits.
Yeah.
You know, if they go too early, then you could do more laps. If you go straight away, you could probably do 4 laps, I think. But then with every lap you do, the tyres get hotter and hotter. So I think there's that debate. Clearly, Envision have decided, with, I think it was Cassidy going to the end of the pit lane, that they've decided to go
Yeah,
straight
they can
away.
queue now. The
See
session's going to
what
restart in 30
their line
seconds.
does do, but just think from a helicopter shot, you just forget what a massive city Sao Paulo is. Isn't
Yeah.
it? It's such a sprawling city.
4th largest in the world in terms of population. Almost 22 million. Only Shanghai, Delhi and Tokyo are more populous than Sao Paulo. Largest city in the Americas, largest city in the Western Hemisphere, largest city in the Southern Hemisphere.
I said if I have really the time to do a prep lap, then I want the front, the new front tires.
Away.
So Vern talking about it as well. He said if I have time to do a prep lap, then I want new front tyres. But the suggestion being if he does do a prep lap, he doesn't want new front tyres.
Exactly. So what he's saying is, if he's got time to,
Okay, and we are on the original plan, so we'll be out, build, push.
outbuild push queues.
Well,
Yeah,
everyone's
which is
done
what
the lap times.
Jeff was saying there, if he's got time to do that build lap, and that's about building the temperature and the pressures up in a comfortable way for the front tires to just get it in the right window for when the drivers feel the grip. And that is massively important, getting that grip on the front axle in the right position, you know, just in that right temperature and pressure window. You get those cues the first time you press the brakes, the first time you turn the wheel into that first corner, and it kind of sets you up for the rest of the lap.
Guemi's ready to go, isn't he? Helmet on and everything ahead of the second group session.
Okay, the rhythm of the out and prep lap need to be a bit quicker than the run before if you have time to do this sequence.
So Vern being told needs to be a bit quicker if you want time to do a second lap, and Sede Camera's back out there then, so that's good. Sergio Sede Camera is back out on the circuit, so calls the red flag and then
Gets to go again, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, good to see it was just an electronic issue, clearly, and they've managed to get it going again. Here we go, so Cassidy's going to be the first one post-red flag to get a lap on the board, I think.
So Cassidy,
Well, away we
over the
go.
line. He's the first driver to start his flying lap, but he's on a build lap here because he's weaving from left to right. Sergio Sede Camera is now under investigation for red flag procedure. So
Yeah, so that red flag procedure, by the way, if what you're seeing on the screen there, it's because he's restarted the session and he shouldn't be allowed because he caused the red flag. So if you cause a stoppage in Formula E this season, you're not allowed then to go back out on the track and set a fastest lap time. So that is Sergio Sede Camera starting at the back. He'll get a penalty for absolute sure, as we've got 4 minutes to go now of this Group A session. The red flag delaying us a little bit, and then we've got these stupidly long waits for the next sessions as well. Before we get to the quarter-final duels and the semi-final, then we get pole position as well. So it's not great for someone who's just come back after having COVID. That's me, by the way, who's still feeling the effects afterwards. A bit flaggy. But Vern 137.157 is the top time. Van Dorn's 48 thousandths off Verline and Rast. Don't forget the top four in Group A. That will then start filling the quarter-final runners as well before going in ready for Group B. Another 12-minute session. Let's hear from Andre Lotter on the radio.
They also look like they are doing build lap. Actually, it looks like they are doing build lap on race, so you should all be in the same sequence.
So yeah, they're doing build laps. They need to then get through as Verline on a push lap now. Slow first sector. Sector 2 also down. So it's not doing well here.
in the act, which is they're doing a bit of a different strategy to everybody else, but they're looking strong at the moment. Here's Pascal Verline coming through the middle sector after turns 7 and 8, and he's 100th up on Jean-Eric Vernon.
Oh, he touched the wall!
Is there going to be damage to the Porsche there? He got really close to it. Actually, Mr. Costa got really close to that wall earlier on this morning. Verline seems to still be doing all right. Pushing into the final corner. Rear looking a little leery.
Yeah, it's jumping around a bit, but it seems to be okay. Verline touching the wall then goes still fourth. Hasn't improved. He was 4/10 down, so touching the wall cost him a lot of time. Cassidy's fastest first sector. Personal best second sector, fastest overall with a 1:13.075. So Cassidy goes top by 82 thousandths of a second to Vern. Roland can only improve up into 7th position now as they continue through. Here's Mortara across the line, and that's sliding, I believe.
Laying down some serious rubber. Into the pits comes Lotterer.
Yeah, Lotterer pits. Cassidy coming out. It was Muller.
Muller behind should be on sync with us.
Cassidy goes...
Muller came out of the last corner and gave it a big slide. Van Dorn goes top, 1:12.928. But Nico Muller in the app, Cooper sliding massively coming out of the last corner, nearly touching the wall as well. Cross the line. Yeah, the start line and finish line are segregated massively down the straight. The finish line is in the exit turn 11, the start line's down towards turn 1, so there is a big difference. Finish line, then we get the start line as well. Van Dorn, Cassidy, Vern Muller, 1, 2, 3, 4 with 68 seconds left on the clock, and this on board now with the McLaren of Rene Rast touching the curbs coming through turn 3 hairpin.
Because it was a reasonable whack. Here we go, on board Rene Rast, under braking, bumps there as you try and get the nose in, which he does nicely into 4, round 5, kink of 6, and the first sector time for René Rast. Not brilliant. Jake Hughes quicker, isn't he?
Rast is as far away in the first sector as he is on his best lap. Eduardo Mortara jumps up into 4th position. Hughes' first sector is not that great as well, and that's right up to the wall on the exit of turn 7. Now through 8, little kink at 9. Here's Hughes, he's 3/10 down after the middle sector, so he might improve here, Jake Hughes, but not particularly strong. And Rast has backed off to go again. So Rast is going again as he comes out of the final. Sorry, that's Hughes, I think.
Is Rast here? So Hughes is going again. Rast coming across. Checkered flag is out now. Hughes to second. He's 91,000 off. It's a 1:13.019 for Jake Hughes. 91,000 off the pace of Van Dorn at the moment. Verline looking quite strong in the first sector. Second sector was down. Third sector's looking okay. Mortara is the opposite. First sector was bad. Second sector's more positive. Cross the line. Checkered flag is waiting. Verline stays 7th, doesn't improve. That is a surprise. Cassidy fastest first sector. Mortara's fighting for control to go top. Mortara with a 1:12.893 goes fastest. Cassidy 1:12.852 goes fastest. 41,000 quicker than the Mortara. Top 3 separated by 76 thousandths of a second as well as they come through. Here comes Oliver Rowland across the line now from 10th. Stays 10th. Sergio City Camera goes 5th. Van Dorn to the top. We're expecting, does so, 1:12.761. Rast to 7th, Vern to 5th. Center Cameras had his lap time deleted. And that is all they wrote with Lotterer in the pit lane. Van Dorn, Cassidy, Mortara, Hughes will go through to the next segment of qualifying with the duels. Vern 5th out. That's big there for Jean-Eric. Rast, Muller, Verline, Center Camera, Roland Lotterer. Huge change from the championship coming. Van Dorn for the first time this year goes through. His teammate, Jean-Eric Verne, doesn't.
But coming through from 15th or 16th on the grid is what he will have to do later on today. Really tough stuff for the Porsche team. Here's Van Dorn's radio.
So it's 1/10 margin over the second, which is Cassidy's, and we have Mortara.
Stoffel Van Dorn into the duels for the second time this season. And finally, the Dutchman is looking like he's got a bit of pace out there.
Tell you what though, Pascal Wehrlein, championship leader, 8th row of the grid.
Stoffel Van Dorn, Nick Cassidy, Eduardo Mortara and Jake Hughes are the drivers that will advance through to the next part of qualifying. Rast missing out, Muller missing out, Verline missing out in 8th position. So, remarkable stuff, and a few more twists in the Formula E tale. Let's head down and join Nikki Shields.
So Alex Hoy, team principal at Neo 333, just talk us through what was going on with Sergio Sette Camera in that session and any issues with the car.
It's quite a shame because at the end Sergio did a lap that not enough to get in a duel, but P5 still like top 10 position, good to start in the race, but because we got issues in the first run causing a red flag, Sergio reset the car, come back, limp mode, and then we go again. But there's a rule saying if you cause a red flag, then you need to cancel your quickest lap. So in the final goal, he did 2 laps, the quickest one enough to be P5 in the group, which not too bad a position to start, but because he caused a red flag in the first run, not his fault, that the lap being deleted, and then his second best effort, just enough for P9 in the group. So will be he was starting relatively back in the grid, but it's a shame because he did nothing wrong, not getting a deal, but just still top 10 positions. But we miss it for something a bit out of our control. So I think, to be honest, I think this route need to be a bit reviewed because I think it's not making so much sense for removing a lap from qualify, which is not your problem. Yeah.
Well, hopefully those technical issues won't impair any race performance, and it's been great to watch Sergei Seti's performance this season, and hopefully the team crowd will get behind him. Thank you so much, Alex. Exactly. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. Interesting that we talked about that bump on the track. They have highlighted it, the FIA, by painting some warning signs over it, but it caused a reset in the car. You've driven this car, and you've driven many Formula E cars. What does a reset mean?
Well, it's just a glitch on the software system. Must have went up very high in revs, and it might have cut out. They didn't tell us exactly what happened, but you know, same for everybody. So it's a shame for him, for the homeboy, but let's see what happens in the race.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Let's take a look at the monitor. We had a couple of drivers tapping the wall as well. This course really proving itself. This is Sergio going back over the bump. We saw the paint. Awesome stuff. All right, let's go back to comms.
We're underway for Group B. Dennis, DaCosta, Boemi, Bird, Degrassi, Evans, NATO, Tickturn, Fenestras, Gunther and Freins are heading out onto the track in this second session. Let's see where we get. Let's see if anybody has the better alternative and better option running as well. Definitely going to be entertaining, definitely going to be interesting. That's the question we all want to ask. Who will get through this time? Who's going to be the surprise elimination? Just to confirm to you, Van Dorn, Cassidy, Mortara, Hughes goes through. Verne, Rast, Muller, Verline, Sete Camera, Roland and Lotterer do not go through. As we've got a car stopped, this will be another red flag. As it's an apt Cupra. And it's obviously Robin Freins, who has come to a stop on the run down towards turn number 1. It's got double yellows, and yet the yellows aren't being shown on the timing screen. Now he's come to a stop on the track, so we've got cars coming through at full speed in a second to start their push laps. We've got double yellows, and there's no sign of any red flags or anything. So are we going to have yet another stoppage? Because everyone's lap times now, the bankers, are going to get deleted because they're in a yellow flag. So they're all going through. Let's hear from Robin Freins, and where's the red flag?
I have nothing, man, nothing. I have no fault on the steering wheel, nothing.
Car's dead.
Nothing happening when I go on power.
So the car's... Well, this needs to be a red flag now before more of the session disappears. What is Scott Elkin, the race director, playing at that they haven't stopped the session yet? So Robin Freins has come to a stopper. Everyone's going through to start their lap times, and their full powers will be next lap. So where's the stop? 9 minutes to go in the session. And if more time ticks... Well, it's gone green now, so... He's got it going. Yay, well done. A little bit of patience. And App Cooper resume with Robin Freins. Really worried that they would have to stop the session there, like alarmingly so. But now that's spoiled everybody else's push lap because they all did it under yellow flag, so they won't count. Unless the stewards are merciful, which I doubt they will be, as Sam Bird, side by side there at the top of the hill, it looked like with Jake Dennis. Let's hear from Gunther.
It's Gunther.
So scenario 2 and acknowledge when ready, we push next lap. Okay, track is clear.
Track's clear, 124, 237, and away we go. Gunther begins to push down towards turn number 1. Slaps on the brakes. T1, 2 and 3 chicane. Swearing we're going to see problems there coming into the race later when the lights go out. It's going to be a very entertaining Grand Prix coming up later for the Sao Paulo Prix.
See it here at patch the tarmac as he does, and car moving around a little bit on the braking. This is a great helicopter angle here to see him going through that very, very tight left-hand part of the chicane. I mean, that's got to be 110, 120 degrees, the angle of that corner. So, yeah, super tight as he now charges up towards turn 7 and 8. Double right-hander here. Really important not to be greedy with the power on the way out and touch the wall as we've seen some others do, like Pascal Wehrlein. But Gunther on a decent lap here. He's gone well in the middle sector of the lap. Oh, there's definitely somebody's hit the wall in the background there, Jack. There's a bit of smoke and some debris rolling around, so we'll come back to that. But first, Gunther up to the line.
Through he comes.
Gunther then will be coming across the line, but look at that. The stewards is involving car 3, Sete Camera. Further action after investigation for overpower. So he's been demoted completely from qualifying. So that is Sergio Sete Camera starting the race from the back of the grid with nothing else around. So Nato top, Fenestraz second, Neo 1, Nissan 1, 2, Neo 3 with Tinctum, Gunther 4th, and then we're going to see everyone stand that time. Second comes Evans, and the Jaguar TCS goes into third fastest as well. And Neo looking okay, but one of the other guys has had their lap time deleted as well. So don't look too shocked up there as well. DaCosta, fastest in practice 2 this morning. It's fastest again, 1:13.085. As Dennis comes down towards team number 1 with Frines just behind him. Bird and Degrassi are back in the pit lane, so they've given up on that matter. As Boemi, fastest sectors 1 and 2 with his personal bests at the moment. If he finds something to give with the car coming in the next second. Out of the last 2 corners then for Sebastian Boemi. Punches hard down across the line. Boemi top with a 1:13.048 across the line. So mighty improvements and looking a lot better out there on the circuit today. As Dennis next across the line, 8th fastest at this time. He's in the second sector. He's a 10.5 down. As they continue through, just hearing from the helicopter camera as we ride with Dennis. And Boemi second, DaCosta goes top. I think lap time deletion for Boemi. Somewhere on the line, let's put DaCosta, Boemi, Nato, Fenestraz, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dennis goes second, 1:13.030. That Porsche powertrain was mighty in the opening 3 races. Is it still mighty here at round 6 of the season?
Lap time in the first 6 minutes. Bird in the pit lane. I mean, I say he hasn't set a lap time. He has. It's just 7 seconds off.
What's Bird done?
It's what happens. Degrassi comes through.
Degrassi and Bird
is getting bulked here. Goes to the inside.
Oh, Degrassi turns it on Bird. That's for side by side.
He's annoyed.
I think this was the outlap, though. I
that
think
was.
That was earlier on what we saw. That wasn't on their hot lap. So,
but
you're right.
That was the
by the
outlap.
letter of the law, you have to do 8
that
times.
Was the
and
outlap.
they have done 8 times in the first part. So I don't think they'll be in trouble with the stewards. They obviously want to massively improve their lap times, but that they've got time to do it now. So here is DaCosta, fastest man so far in this part of qualifying, and straight into the pit lane. So he will probably change tyres. They're going to have to do a quick turnaround here. Less than 5 minutes to go, but it's a Porsche powertrain, 1-2 at the moment.
So, Jack.
4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Radio DaCosta.
Outlap, sorry, a quick prep lap. So 1:23.
Yeah, that's fine for me.
Okay.
That's fine for me.
Yeah, he sounds pretty relaxed with the run plan, isn't he? Engineers advising him on what they can do. Here are those tyre changes we were talking about. This is in the Nissan pits, as we can see Sasha Fenestraz, who's been on a good run of qualifying, and he'd been nice for him to try and capitalise on that. He got taken out in a fairly robust move by Nick Cassidy when he was heading for a good finish in Cape Town last time out. So we'll see what he can do here. But Sam Bird on track.
So Bird aborted his lap because Degrassi hit the wall. So Degrassi hit the wall, Bird was following him, and so he then aborted his lap. So now, no issues for Bird. The car is absolutely fine. James Barkley, the team principal, as Bird comes through the chicane. So he doesn't have a full lap under his belt, but I think that might mean that both Brazilians are going to be towards the back of the order. 3.5 minutes to go. Here's Bird's radio.
Do your first push, carry it into your second push. If you're going to abort the second push, you've got to not do it too slowly.
That's the message to Bird.
Yeah, he's nearly 2 seconds off on this lap. So he's an odd one, this, because he's not crawling around as slowly as you've seen other people doing on a build lap, but he's also not setting a fast lap time. So it's a sort of halfway house here. But anyway, he's pushing on. So expect this next lap from Sam Bird to be much more representative of his true pace. But here is the Neo of Dan Tinctum. Now he's done some spectacular laps, hasn't he, the early part of the session of the season. in Diria in particular. Might be a bit trickier for him here, but we'll see.
Try to gauge your mirrors, but if we can stay ahead, it will help us for our overall plan.
Right, Bird is on a push lap now. Sam Bird pushing in the Jaguar. Dan Ticktum is on a prep lap at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on Bird's running clock down in the bottom right.
Yeah,
here he comes. Now he's a bit out of sync compared to everybody else. He's coming up into the right-hander of turn 7 now. We'll get a middle sector split for him here. 300s up on Da Costa's time. He might get another push lap after this.
Bird's on a right one now.
Keep pushing, push lap, keep pushing.
Right, this is getting interesting. Sam Bird being told to continue push with 2 minutes to go in Group B. Fast first sector, and he's top. 1:12.833. The roller coaster year for Sam Bird just continues to keep on delivering. And coming out of the pit lane, I think that's Lucas de Grassi and Dennis too coming out. So they're all starting to have their options then. Then we'll get into the duels later. That's going to be remarkably exciting. Don't forget, this goes on to about 2:45. We'll be on air for MotoGP and the first ever sprint race in the Premier class. Then we'll be back here at 4:45 for all of the action from the Sao Paulo E-Prix. As Dan Ticktum is fastest of all in the first sector. Second sector's looking good as well. He's locked up. He's gone straight on. He's lost out on the time. Unbelievable from Dan Ticktum.
Where am I?
You're P1.
What position?
P1.
Bird being asked what position, but Ticktum's thrown away a lap. Fast in the first sector. Slow second sector with that lock up and straight on. And he'll have to get ready and go again.
In the optimum window. But he'll have to go again, Dan Ticktum. Currently 8th quickest. Mitch Evans is about to come through the final corner and out across the line. Here is the black and white Jaguar. Bit of traffic ahead, including his teammate Sam Bird. Keeps out of the way nicely. Evans through the final turn. And where does he go on this lap? He goes 3rd fastest, a 10th away from Bird. So that's, yeah, Barkley knows.
Yeah, Barkley knows it. So it's Jaguar, followed then as well by the Porsches and Jaguar then Andretti. So it's getting quite close. The checkered flag is out. Qualifying concludes. Don't think Bird's going to do another lap time. Da Costa's 33 thousandths off the pace. But Wemi, who's been fast all weekend long, can he get himself into the duels? Or does his weekend end here? And we'll have to start the race outside, about 9th position, 9th or 10th on the 5th row of the grid. Into the last couple of corners. He's 98 thousandths of a second off the pace of Bird, so this would put him into 3rd position. As Nato goes 4th, kicks out Dennis as things currently stand. Down now, into the last 2 corners. Boemi. Fenestras goes 6th, Ticktum goes 7th, Nato's already confirmed in 4th position. Boemi crosses the line from 8th at the moment, goes 5th, he can't do it. He can't do it, he's a 10th and a half down. Here's Antonio Felix da Costa, will he top the session? At the moment, looks like he might just stay up there. Bird's looking quick. Da Costa, 4 thousandths off the pace. Bird is the word with a 1:12.669. And Gunther jumps to 2nd to kick out Norman Nato, as there's a yellow briefly out of the circuit. Friends goes into the pit lane. De Grassi, 11 seconds off. De Grassi will start this race last on home soil, literally in his home city of Sao Paulo. Lucas De Grassi will start this race 22nd and last. Friends 2 in the pits. Completes the running order. It's Bird, Gunther, Da Costa and Evans going through to the next part of quali. Nato is out, Boemi out, Dennis out, Fenestras, Ticktum, Friends and De Grassi eliminated.
For the championship fight. Absolutely fantastic. Frustration for an apt because Friends was slowest. He was telling me earlier on today, Robin, that it's taking him a bit of time to get back into the swing of things. But Sam Bird, fastest in the groups. And again, that Jaguar's got pace.
The Jaguars are fast. They're fast in qualifying. They're fast in the races. They just need to get to the end with a clean race without either hitting each other or running into trouble. And, you know, they're 6th in the championship as a team at the moment, which is not at all representative of the fact that they've had probably the fastest or second fastest car all season.
And I felt like I took a massive wallop with some concrete, and I don't know whether it got stuck under the car, but I've just flinged something massive out of the front.
Okay, so we sort of caught some debris kind of by the sounds of it, Bird.
I wonder if that was on the in-lap coming back to the pits, because it obviously didn't slow him down on his time lap. He's done the fastest time, I think, of the weekend so far. Yeah, he put a 10th quicker than we saw from Van Dorn in the earlier group, so might have been on the in-lap.
Jake Dennis has been 6th and 7th in his last 3 qualifying sessions in his groups, so it's been a bit of a struggle for Dennis in qualifying recently.
They need to get that sorted. You know, if they want to fight for the championship, I think they got away with it early on while other cars were learning about the Gen 3, but they can't get away with it for too long. Here we go.
So this is Lucas de Grassi up at turn 7.
I touched the wall,
Now turn 8. Oh, on the inside.
Car damage, boxing.
Yeah, car damage.
Inside
So
wall.
that's how he's done it. Inside wall at turn 8, and he's broken the front right suspension, and that now explains why Lucas de Grassi didn't qualify and why he was 11.822 off the pace. Quarterfinals will start at 10:21 local time. That's in around about 7 minutes.
From the block.
Oh, so that's what Bird then collected, just there.
Bird hit de Grassi's damage, yeah. Jack, check us out.
Well, he's quickest in qualifying Group B. Bird, Gunter, Da Costa and Evans will be advancing through to the duels. Nato missing out. Buemi, Dennis, Fenestraz, Tipton, Freitz and de Grassi, the 11 drivers in the second qualifying group. Through to the duels next. And that is the first time this season that Antonio Felix da Costa has out-qualified Pascal Wehrlein. Fascinating Porsche fight. Let's head down to Nikki.
So we're down outside the Mahindra garage with team principal Fred Bertrand. Just talk us through, we saw a bit of a replay of what happened to Lucas de Grassi, contact there with the front rear. How much damage is done to the car, and have you spoken to him?
Unfortunately, enough damage to stop the session for Lucas. I think it's a pity because he had very good feeling with the car since this morning, improving all the time, and we know that Lucas on one lap like this with all the Brazilian fans behind him was able to do something great, and he started well in the session, good first split, and unfortunately a small touch on the front right, and that damaged the wheel and a little bit the suspension behind, and not possible to continue.
Such a disappointment, but hopefully the fans will get behind him during the course of the race. And Oliver Rowland, again, not quite the performance enough to get through to the duels.
Yeah, I think Oli struggles to find the right confidence into the car, and on such a track with such small gap between the performances of the drivers, it's too much. But hopefully, I think we have two big fighters, so we hope we'll be good during the race and able to come from the back to the top.
And the car is better because obviously there were issues with the suspension, which allowed you, well, you couldn't race when we were in Cape Town. Is that all sorted now?
Yeah, that's behind us, hopefully. That was already a very difficult weekend for us in Cape Town. So that's why here we really want to do well, and having those small mistakes doesn't help. But I think it creates additional pressure. Maybe I'll explain a bit of the small mistakes we have here, but that's part of the game. We have to be stronger and be better for the future.
Brilliant, lovely. Thank you very much, and good luck for the race weekend. Cheers.
Well, I'm stood outside the Porsche garage with team principal Florian Modlinger. Florian, mixed fortunes today. Pascal Wehrlein, unfortunately not through, but Felix da Costa through. So how did you evaluate this one?
Yeah, Pascal did not make it through. His first run was great, P3, but in the second run he reported more oversteer than normal. We have to check. He had a wall contact and did not make it. And on the other side, Antonio performed similar to free practice, made it through the duels, and now we try to progress further.
And how much does it matter in terms of the opportunities for overtake when it comes to racing? I think there are 4 big opportunities. Are you still massively confident for Pascal to really encroach on the field?
Yeah, from the start position we have to do our best. The track allows overtaking, good overtaking opportunities, and we need to maximize the result on his side.
Thanks for your time, Florian.
Thank you.
So Florian Modlinger, their team principal at the Tag Heuer Porsche team. Brazilian fans flooding the grandstands, getting ready to go. qualifying duels about to get underway in Sao Paulo, the 6th round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. The Senna Caps are out in force, aren't they? Which is just wonderful to see.
Yeah, these duels now going to be really more interesting and fascinating. Qualifying number 1 then. It's Maserati's Mortara versus Envision's Cassidy. From the head-to-head previously, Mortara's won out 1-0. As they go out then in the first session. They may now enter the fast lane. And we may now get ready to go racing. Reminder that EERC is underway right now on YouTube. The channel me and Ed work out for esports in Endurance League. Istanbul round 1 is getting underway. I'll be with them later on this evening to call the end of the race. Looking forward to that. As away they go onto the circuit then. They should be quite quick, these dual formats here in Sao Paulo. It's a 1 minute 15 lap time. And we're going to see them pushing as hard as they possibly can. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. And the MotoGP as well is going to be like a nice little taster before the main action tomorrow. And we've got a race coming up with Formula E later on this evening. It's just going to all fit together perfectly. Can't wait to see what will happen. And of course, it's actually now more easy for us because we don't have to edit anything anymore. The rest of the weekend is live. As well, with live for everything for the rest of the weekend. Well, bar the Moto 3 and Moto 2 races, they're in highlights to be aired during the week, but that's different matter. Still in the action then. There's a bird just popping out through its head through one of the catch fencings at the back half of the track. That's quite funny. So, here we go then. It's time for quarterfinal number 1 for the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. And away goes Mortara here for the Julius Baer Sao Paulo E-Prix. Into turn number 1. Heavy on the brakes as he takes as much throttle in as possible. 10 seconds exactly before he gets down towards turn number 1. And right now, Cassidy's ahead by 5 thousandths of a second in the first mini sector. Let's see what he is at turn number 1. Cassidy's ahead by a massive 0.134. Mortara really having to push that Maserati around with all he's got. Second sector, well, first sector time. Mortara's catching Cassidy at the moment. It's 48 thousandths between the two of them. Cassidy approaching the complete first sector time, opening up his POV2. And Mortara's now ahead of Cassidy, so that great start Cassidy had is now lost out. Mortara in the Maseratis pushing hard. Is this the pace we saw in pre-season testing? Finally coming to Mortara's way, finally coming to Maserati's way. Out of the last corner, towards the line we go. Eduardo Mortara does a 1:12.132. Cassidy is catching him. 37 thousandths of a second between the two as Cassidy into turn 9, 10, now 11. Cross the line coming up. Cassidy, is he fastest? No! 18 thousandths of a second between them. It's a 1:12.150 for Cassidy. And it's Eduardo Mortara who will progress to the semi-finals.
Two of them. Cassidy doing 12.150, but it is Edo Mortara who goes through to the semi-finals. Front 2 rows of the grid for Mortara for the first time this season.
Next
that was
up.
a really strong lap. If you think about the fact they've been in the pits and then had to go back out, they've had a lot of time to think about it, and it's quite easy to sort of overthink it as well. You know, they have that whole second group phase to think about their 350 laps, but they've also, I guess, had time to look at a bit more data. So here we go, Hughes versus Van Dorn. What do we think, Jack? This is an interesting one, isn't it?
It certainly is. Well, it's Van Dorn's only his second appearance in the duels this season, and in Diriyah, his last appearance, he was slowest of the losing quarter-finalists. So it's going to be a big one here for Van Dorn to try and get his season back onto some sort of track. But Hughes has been a qualifying master this year.
He has. Van Dorn was quicker in the group stages though by 10 and a half. So yeah, it's going to be really tight. I think again this one if they get the laps spot on. So Van Dorn across the line. And
We're going split screen here, so we've lined them up as best as we can.
Yeah, and
Van Dorn is
looking good.
or so ahead after the first couple of corners.
But he hit the inside curb a bit more aggressively than he would have liked, I think, at turn 2, and that put him offline. So I'll be interested to see when we get the next sector time.
Yeah, look at that. Van Dorn versus Hughes is closing in. So Van Dorn was ahead, but Hughes is catching him. 68,000 of a second between the two at the moment as they fly through the chicane areas. Now Hughes is first down. He's catching Van Dorn on the lap times as well, which is surprising me, the fact that Van Dorn was ahead so quickly. And Hughes is catching ahead because Hughes is further ahead of him. Surely it should be the other way around, that Van Dorn should constantly be catching him. Either way. Oh, and Hughes has lost 0.5 of a second. Van Dorn in that second sector is massively ahead. So the Neon McLaren is now 0.7 down across the line. Hughes was a 1:12.657. Van Dorn right behind him is going to absolutely mince that and does a 1:11.920. He is 0.731 faster. Unbelievable. Van Dorn wins and will progress to semi-final number 1.
Stoffel Van Dorn advancing through to the semi-finals, so Mortara will face Van Dorn, which will be a very nice fight between those two drivers. This is Van Dorn's best qualifying performance of the season so far then. Oliver Turvey there to the left-hand side. As we get ready for duel number 3, Antonio Felix da Costa versus Max Günther. Now, Günther was second on the grid last time out in Cape Town. Da Costa has not made it through to the duels so far this season. His best qualifying performance, 9th on the grid. He won his last 5 quarter-final appearances, Antonio Felix da Costa.
Well, he won the last race as well, so he's carrying a lot of confidence coming into this
Away
weekend.
we go.
Porsche have done quite a bit of work here to improve their qualifying performances, and the proof will be in the lap time here. So Da Costa goes first, Günther in the Maserati following on. So we'll get a look as they get down towards turn 1. Günther drifting a little bit in the middle of the road here, sight the braking point as we see Da Costa.
He's up.
Pretty good sector 1. Let's see if he can get the nose in. A little bit of movement, and goes a little bit deep actually. Deeper than most people through that first part of the chicane at turn 4, and that would have tightened the line for 5.
He's up at the moment though, that's the important thing with this sectors. Da Costa is 0.185 up on Günther. There's a lot of debris at the exit turn. Coming through the back half of the track, so there's a lot of debris coming through 7 and 8 just at the exit curve. Gunther's catching him now within 1/10 of a second. He's 0.092 behind as Da Costa enters turn 11, the last corner on this Sao Paulo street circuit, 2.933 kilometre track, across the line, so 1:11.982. That's a very strong time from Antonio Felix da Costa. What can Maximilian Günther do? He is a 10th back at the moment, out of the last corner. Günther pushes hard towards the line. Is he quicker? No, 1:12.189. It is Da Costa going through to the semi-finals.
Max Günther, the 1:12.189.
That's us through. That's us through. Good job.
And that was Marius Meyer Dietrich on the radio to Da Costa, saying, we are through. And he is. So, Da Costa versus Günther. One of them, well, Da Costa will face one of the Jaguars, because the final qualifying duel is Mitch Evans versus Sam Bird. The Kiwi versus the Brit. They've faced off once before. Evans won that one. This is going to be an interesting fight, especially after last year where Bird struggled a little bit. Evans kind of brought his dominance, had a really strong season and kind of became the team leader, as it were. Bird is trying to fight that back. He's currently 8th in the championship, Bird, with Evans down in 12th, so there's a lot going on in this intra-team rivalry at Jaguar TCS Racing, and this duel is going to be fascinating. Now remember, Sam Bird does have a 5-place grid drop for hitting Evans in Hyderabad, but that won't be applied until the end of the session.
Yeah, so he wants to get as high up the order.
Yeah, that's because that's because Bird wasn't in Cape Town. So Bird never raced in Cape Town after a big accident in practice 3. Practice 2. But so that's why he's not racing today. He wasn't racing in Cape Town, and that's why he's going to have the penalty taken today, is my correct words. First sector, though, Evans is ahead of Bird, so wherever Bird is, he will have 5 places added on. That will be taking effect at the end of qualifying, so when all of the positions are maintained, the race control will then give us the final running orders. And Evans is looking mighty strong here in the 2 sectors so far. And Bird is 0.2 of a second down on his overall times. Cross the line for Evans, take the checker flag, a 1:11.843. Bird next up here in the final quarter-final. Can he get ahead, or is his elimination going to end here? Bird, it ends here with a 1:12.037. Evans goes through to the quarter-final, to semis. So Evans will progress to the semi-final to face Da Costa. That means semi-final 1 coming up in 10 minutes will be Mortara versus Van Dorn, and semi-final 2, Da Costa versus Evans. Oh, this is going to be a great session. Right, back to Jack.
Than what we've seen from, the first group of Mortara Cassidy, for example, or from Da Costa, just over 2 tenths. So, yeah, that's a strong performance from the Kiwi. And he's already had a pole this year, hasn't he? Started in pole position in Hyderabad and, as you said, got taken out by his teammate on that occasion. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to that semi-final. I think it's going to be good.
So 5th on the grid will be Nick Cassidy. 6th on the grid will be Max Gunter. 7th on the grid will be Jake Hughes. Those are the first 3 grid positions that we know. And 10th on the grid will be Sam Bird. So that's the way it will line up further back. Semi-final wise then, Eduardo Mortara versus Stoffel Van Dorn. And then it will be Antonio Felix da Costa versus Mitch Evans in the battle for the front row and the chance to get through to the final and take the 3 points that'll be on offer for the Julius Baer pole position. So just a few minutes time and then that first semi-final will be getting underway. Let's look at the Ponte de Casa Verde bridge. And the circuit here, getting ready for the semis in about just under 3 minutes time actually. Before then, let's go to Nikki.
Well, Jake Hughes into the duels again, but it didn't quite go to plan this time, pushing really hard. What happened just out of turn 7?
Yeah, it was braking for turn 7, unfortunately just locked the front, and it stayed locked all the way to nearly the wall, so that was unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I was happy to get into the jaws. I was not feeling as confident as I like to be in the car, especially on braking. I think everyone's struggling with that. But yeah, it proved to be the case in the end in turn 7, but I think we're still in a good position to score some good points.
Absolutely, because everyone seems to be talking about the fact that actually there's going to be so much overtaking and position changing at the course of this track. What do you think your realistic expectations are?
Oh, it's going to be a typical Formula E race, I think, probably even more crazy than we've seen so far this year. Energy will be crucial, I think the most crucial we've seen so far. And yeah, it'll be a lot about following in the tow and trying to save energy when you can and spending it at the right moments, because we won't have many matchsticks to burn during the race.
Yeah. And how, looking at the others in terms of their efficiency, how do you think McLaren can compete?
Yeah, I think we're not too far away. I mean, I wouldn't stand here and say that we're the strongest, let's say, but I think we're improving every single race. I think obviously René's been able to be on the podium and I've been in the top 5 a few times, so we're not a million miles away. But I think we have some things that we're continuously improving on, and hopefully, we've had a month off since Cape Town and we've tried to implement those lessons, so hopefully that pays dividend today. Was
it nice to have a bit of a break? Did you get a break?
It was actually. Normally I just love to be in the car, but those first 2 months were intense, so a week off and then straight on the bike training.
Yeah, it really was an intense start to the season. You've had a great rookie year so far. Thanks very much, Jake Hughes.
One of the Jakes. We've got too many Jakes, haven't we, Nikki? Here we go then. Semi-finals about to come underway, get underway. Not many matchsticks to burn in the race, says Jake Hughes. No idea what that means, never heard it in my life. But you learn a new phrase every day.
Well, presumably it means he doesn't have too many tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, but I've heard that as a phrase.
Too many aces in your pack.
Yeah, exactly. Too many, not enough matchsticks.
Send us a tweet if there are any more that you think make it into a matchsticks in a race.
Hashtag Sao Paulo be free. So, semi-final number 1 coming up. Mortara versus Van Dorn. They've faced each other once before, and Mortara won that one.
We got the same hairdresser when you look at that picture side on.
Maybe. Light about to go green at the end of the pit lane. The first semi-final getting underway as Eduardo Mortara leaves the pit lane. The light will go back to red, and then Stoffel Van Dorn will leave the pit lane. Penske were on the front row in Hyderabad. They've not had multiple front row starts in one season since season 2, when they were the Dragon team back then.
Yeah, I almost think, you got to think of them as they're a whole new team.
Yeah.
And I think, Maserati as well. I know there's a lot of carryover from previous, but I think the way that the Penske team has come together, it's a completely new team. It's an amalgamation of 2 previous teams. So it's yeah. I know you like your stats and history, but it's a bit different, I think.
Well, do you like this one? Mortara has only lost 1 semi-final in his last 7 semi-finals. He's only lost once in his last 7.
That is good.
That was to Da Costa in Jakarta last year.
And
good driving from Mortara, or a good stat?
No, but both.
Okay, great.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done. You've redeemed yourself. But I think the battle here is going to be fascinating, because in the previous round there were near hundreds between these 2 drivers, and actually they kind of share the powertrain, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's similar cars, similar drivers who were championship drivers last year. They were very evenly matched last year in the title fight and in qualifying. So this should be good.
Away we go then for the semi-final. Mortara versus Van Dorn in towards turn 1 now. We've had the lap time started on board with Mortara, and we've delayed Van Dorn's pictures, which is always handy to us. It's towards turn number 1 because we can't hear anything. It's turn 1. Mortara takes it aggressively as well. They're not that far behind either. And Mortara is the one who is having his pictures delayed. We're riding live with Stoffel Van Dorn, who's ahead by 44 thousandths in the first sector at the moment. And look at that. DS Penske with the team principal mouthing as well with hands over. So nervous. They need this to work out, especially for Van Dorn. He's the reigning champion. He's come to them, and he hasn't had any luck so far this season. Now, Van Dorn's ahead by 44 thousandths to Mortara, as we know. Fastest lap time coming up, I can tell you. It's a 1:12.109 from Edo Mortara. He's completed his lap time. We're waiting for Stoffel Van Dorn, who is well clear at the moment. And Van Dorn goes top. A 1:11.929. Fastest time overall then. And it is Stoffel Van Dorn who will go through to the final, alongside, to be decided, between Da Costa and Evans. Wow!
Front row of the grid for the first time this season. The reigning champion is back at the front.
This is good news for him, isn't it? He's really been put in the shadow here so far this season by his teammate Jean-Eric Vergne, who they both started off badly, but then Jeff seemed to recover so far. But Van Dorn, great job.
Well done, mates. In mud. Only 1 left.
Only 1 left is the message. Now it's semi-final 2. Antonio Felix da Costa versus Mitch Evans. Former rival, well, they've been rivals in Formula E, they've been rivals in GP3 back in the day. And now they're going head-to-head on circuit for a place on the front row of the grid. Evans has had that pole position earlier this season. In fact, he's been in the duels for the last 4 races. He's been in the semi-finals the last 3 races. This is now his 4th in a row. Across the line comes Da Costa. who hasn't been in the duels yet this season. His best qualifying performance is 9th, but it looks as though he's a bit more hooked up. Topped free practice too earlier on this morning.
Da Costa's really pushing hard. And here comes Evans. Porsche versus Jaguar. Let's see what they've got to do. Evans currently behind by 1,000 at the control line. When they separated it, Da Costa's ahead by turn 1 at 73 thousandths of a second to Evans as well. Now, first sector time is coming up for the pair of them. Let's just see if it will be an improvement or not. Evans is ahead. So Evans Evans ahead in the first sector by 0.180. As they're visually closing down on each other as well. There's not that much between them. It's such a small track here at Sao Paulo. Really pushing hard then is Da Costa, needing to find the better time. We're watching Evans right now in the Jaguar, but in the split screen we can see Da Costa through turns, back out of the circuit through 7 and 8. This is 9 and 10. Now we're back with Da Costa to take the checkered flag to 1:11.982. Now 9 thousandths of a second is between them at the moment. Evans into the last corner. I wish they would stop switching between the two. It's really hard to tell them a difference in with delivery as well. This is Evans across the line. 5 thousandths catching across it to 1:12.022. It doesn't work out. Da Costa goes through to the final alongside Van Dorn. And that's going to be coming up soon. Well, that came out of nowhere. Fabulous run there from Da Costa.
Everyone else has actually improved. So
and all in the final sector as well.
Yeah, he's made some sort of an error, hasn't he, in the final part of the lap.
So, Florian Modlinger's man, Antonio Felix Da Costa, who complained about the braking at turn 1, was struggling on the brakes at turn 1. We saw him lose a big chunk of time in that first sequence of corners. But he is through to the final to face Stoffel Van Dorn. So Da Costa, quickest 400ths ahead of Mitch Evans, who did a 12.02. I didn't actually manage to write down Mortara's lap time, so I'm not sure who's going to be third on the grid, to be perfectly honest with you, but the battle for pole position. Oh, did you write it down? What did you do? A 12.109. Okay, so Evans will be third on the grid. Mortara will be fourth on the grid. This is where we're at then. The final will be Antonio Felix Da Costa versus Stoffel Van Dorn. The Tag Heuer Porsche versus the DS Penske. Two drivers who are trying to mount a bit of a comeback on their championship challenge. Da Costa on the podium the last 2 races. He's got up to 4th in the standings. Van Dorn down in 13th in the championship, but this will help him an awful lot, especially if he wins the final in a moment. So, the final will be getting underway in a little under 7 minutes' time, but we can now go down to hear from Nicky, who spoke to that man Sam Bird a couple of moments ago.
Well, Sam Bird, it's time for a bit of luck on your side, I think, for this weekend. Talk us through that quali lap. Obviously, it's never ideal going up against your teammate, Mitch Evans.
No, it's not, and he's top quality. I didn't do a good enough lap, to be honest. Bit scrappy in the middle sector, ran wide at turn 5, and I think sector 1 and sector 3 were quicker, and I just lost in one place, and that place is onto a really long straight, and yeah, my bad. But the Jaguar have given me a really quick car. We topped normal qualifying. So that was great, and we've done some great energy-saving laps, so I'm feeling competitive.
Now, annoyingly, you've obviously got the 5-place grid penalty for the incident, the crash with Mitch Evans from 2 races ago. So you'll be starting from P10. How much of a challenge is that going to be?
It's actually not the worst thing here. I think the energy consumption will be interesting, to say the least, and I think that the tow effect will mean that P10 is not the worst place to start. I can definitely go forwards.
Who's your biggest competitor?
Well, so far this season's been myself, but in terms of getting it right, not in terms, I'm not being big-headed, I'm just saying, like, but I'd say there's so many. I'd say the Stellantis cars look strong, Porsche very quick, and Mitch and the Envision guys as well.
Well, good luck for a nice, clean race today. Thank you very much, Sam Bird.
Yeah, unlucky there, Sam Bird. Let's talk about that duel between Edo Mortara and Stoffel Van Dorn. Stoffel, obviously, our reigning champion. Edo did exceptionally well last season in the Venturi team, but had a really difficult start, the Maserati team so far.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like the DS Penske, they have it a bit more together. Two very experienced drivers, probably helping a lot the team to develop the new Gen 3 car. So, I mean, two very good drivers together, it just brings the team up, you know. And Stoffel seems to have the hand of the track over here, is doing very well. Like we said back in our little box over there, I think that it's Stoffel's weekend. I mean, we have a lot of strong drivers up there front, but Stoffel seems to be in very good form.
Yeah, you did say that in the comms booth. We just sat chilling like Max and relaxing, and you said it's got to be Stoffel's weekend this weekend. What makes you say that? What do you think you've seen?
Well, he's had a tough beginning of the season. So I think you know, all of these drivers they have a reset button where you know, they have to restart. It's a new track for everybody, so it's a good chance for him to have a fresh restart over here. I do think he's very good, obviously. So he's out of DS Penske, he's the one up there, so I think he's going to have a good shot of winning the race.
The DS car in general seems to have a really slow start to this season. You know, historically it has a slow start to the season, but we'll see how that develops. All right, thank you very much, Nelson. Let's go back to comms, shall we?
Thank you, Vern. Traffic aplenty in Sao Paulo. We were asked yesterday how far is this track from Interlagos, the Autodromo Carlos Pache. The answer is about 40 kilometers, about an hour and a half. Nelson reckoned at 3 a.m. it's about 40 minutes. Any other time of day, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. Final getting underway in 3.5 minutes' time.
So when he was coming back to bed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This is the all the other races Nelson's been at with this season with us. He's been jet lagged because he's flown from Brazil to Cape Town and to Hyderabad. Now he's in his hometown. He's doing all right. Chirping. Let's go down here. Some more from Nicky.
So, Adam Mortara, congratulations, starting from the second row of the grid here in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, thanks. It's been it's been a pretty intense session for us with quite a few mistakes, and after some difficult free practice, we didn't know if we could make it to the duels, but we did, and very happy to be starting from the first rows.
Got a couple of quick drivers ahead of you, Antonio Felix Costa, Stoffel Vandoorne. How is the race going to play out?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to be a pretty difficult race with very hot temperatures, long straights, so a lot of slipstreaming, and we are going to have to do an intelligent race, and hopefully, you know, starting from the front, it's going to be easier.
Is this the race you can bring home some good solid points for the team?
We need to.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Adam Mortara.
Yeah, only 3 points this season for Eduardo Mortara. Now, so far this season, we've had, or not even this season, going back to last season as well, as we look at the track temperature up at 50 degrees, air temperature at 30. 8 poles.
I'm glad you turned the aircon on in this commentary box.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be done. Were you with us in Cape Town?
No.
No, Cape Town, the aircon in the commentary box went went nuts and just started blowing hot air in at one point halfway through, which was fairly unpleasant. And while we were out as well, we came back, opened the commentary box room. It's just been pumped full of 30-degree air for the last hour. It was fairly unpleasant. Anyway, Stoffel Vandoorne, if he takes pole position, it'll be 9 pole sitters in 9 races, which will tie the Formula E record. If Da Costa takes pole position, the record will be over because he took pole at the end of last season. So
we know what to do.
It's 9 pole sitters from 9 races. And the last 8 races, the pole sitter hasn't won.
Okay, so final time. Why we have to wait 10 minutes, I have no idea. But it was nice to have a little bit of a break as I'm coming back from COVID. So, Da Costa versus Vandoorne then. In around about 63 seconds, we will know who will be on pole position for the Julius Baer Sao Paulo E-Prix. The circuit modified from the old street course that IndyCar used to race on. It's wonderful being back here. The start-finish straight is the same start-finish straight we used to have for IndyCar. So it is nice to be back. So Da Costa versus Vandoorne. 51% of you at home say Da Costa's going to win. 49% say Vandoorne. So it is very close, but it's swung the way of Da Costa by that crucial 2%. And it will be Da Costa out first with Vandoorne second in the black and gold DS Automobiles Penske, whereas out goes the Tag Heuer Porsche and race winner from Cape Town last time out, Antonio Felix da Costa. And away we go. So, who will take pole? Out they go on the parade lap.
49 points, just 1 point behind Jean-Eric Verne. Still be 31 points off his teammate Pascal Wehrlein, but remember, Pascal Wehrlein is going to be starting down on the 8th row of the grid. Kat has just been very rude on social media on hashtag Sao Paulo Ypres. Commentary box full of hot air is surely Jack's natural habitat. Very rude, Kat. Very rude indeed.
He's giggling.
Here,
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly. You're the provider of most of it. Here comes Da Costa then down the back straight.
I can hear all the birds down
Again,
the back straightaway.
these guys do now have 2 full power laps under their belt, so they've got a bit more knowledge of the circuit and the conditions.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, there's lots of factors to consider. The tyres obviously have done a bit more mileage by this stage of qualifying, and you know, everything will feel slightly different, but the most important thing, as you rightly say, is they've done a bit more practice. But here we go, Da Costa's chance to get his first front row start of the season.
Away we go for the final, down towards turn number 1. The fans watching in anticipation here in Sao Paulo. And here, around the last corner, comes Antonio Felix da Costa to now Stoffel van Dorn. In towards turn number 1. There's a thousandth of a second between them at the control line. How's that going to be different as we enter the first corner? Heavy on the brakes. Van Dorn is a thousandth behind. They've kept exactly the same so far through the chicane at 4, 5 and 6 for Da Costa, pushing hard uphill now towards turn number 7. This is where the safety car lights will be turned off later on. This is where the bump is as well on the track, on the very uneven parts of the course. Van Dorn is 20 thousandths of a second now behind Da Costa, so there's still a lot of time between them. There's still room and time to be found as they push forward as well. First sector, 69 thousandths. It's going to be a very close session here. Who is going to take pole position? And Van Dorn's ahead by 96 thousandths of a second, nearly a tenth. Da Costa across the line to take the checkered flag. It's a 1:11.967. Is it a 9th different pole sitter in Formula E to equal the history books record of 9 different? And the last corner for Stoffel van Dorn, pushing it towards the line. Van Dorn is on pole position. And listen to Sao Paulo. It's a 1:11.904. It is pole position for DS Penske, and it is a return to form for the world champion of Stoffel van Dorn. Unbelievable.
The front of the grid.
Let's hear from him.
You're on pole, mate.
Yes, you are, Jack.
That's a big result for him. You know,
Good.
there's still time for him to drag himself into this championship fight, the reigning champion, of course, but that's a good way to get the campaign truly up and running. I mean, so far, where's he, Jack? 13th at the points, only 11 on the board. Yeah, that is good weekend so far.
I think we should do a bit more simulator even. Imagine.
What does that mean from Stoffel van Dorn? I think we should do even more simulator work. Have they done more for this race than others?
Probably.
Was he being sarcastic and saying he's done
a mysterious little message from Stoffel van Dorn. Love it.
I'm sure Nicky and Vance will be all over that to ask the tough questions.
So, time for a bit of lunch for the loads of great food around this circuit. And loads of great food around Sao Paulo, to be perfect.
Yes, there really is, and that confirms qualifying then. I don't know whether or not we'll hear from the official run order shortly, but qualifying is over. Next up, it is the Sao Paulo E-Prix race time. Will be underway as well, and I can't wait to see it coming up. But there's a load more action to come. Next up here on JB Motorsports, It's time for the first ever MotoGP sprint. That gets underway in around about 45 minutes time. That's at 2:45 GMT. Then you can join us straight after for coverage of the Formula E Sao Paulo race as well. That's underway at 4:45 as well, with lights out at 5. A lot of action, a lot of intrigue, and this is how I think they will line up on the starting grid as the calendar comes through. It will be Stoffel van Dorn on pole position for 31 laps. Alongside will be Antonio Felix da Costa, and it'll be Evans and Mortara, Cassidy and Hughes, Vern Nato, Gunther Bird rounds out the top 10. Rast ahead of Boemi, Muller and Dennis, Fenestrad Sette Camera, Tictum Verline, Roland Freins, Lotterer and De Grassi taking up the reins. So a lot more action to come then, and a lot more interest as well. That is your coverage done then of qualifying here for the Sao Paulo E-Prix. Next up, MotoGP on the YouTube channel, and we'll be back for the Sao Paulo E-Prix at 4:45 GMT. Stoffel van Dorn with his first pole of the year, 9 different pole in a row from Formula E, but the last 8 times, those who started on pole haven't won. Is today going to be any different? We'll find out. 31 laps of the Sao Paulo E-Prix coming up in around about 2 hours 45. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.